I am Tesnauta, and I was asked to do a few exercises before I was entering the study about reading some articles and just talking in English about them and about my test about being a teacher. So first up is learning how to learn, because that was an article that really spoke to me, because when I was in primary school I was put in a gifted group, so people were like, oh yeah, you're gifted, you can just do your own thing, you'll manage, you'll just do fine. And I did do fine, but in spite of just doing fine, I never learned how to learn. I just read through the text and understand it because I had like a ground level of knowledge beforehand, because I was curious about stuff, so I never learned how to learn. So when I moved on to high school, I sort of drowned a bit, because then you actually have to learn, because you're doing your work on a level where you're supposed to be challenging yourself. And I was challenged, of course, because I got to a higher level, but then I sort of drowned in all the work because I didn't know how to learn. So learning how to learn, it's a bit of a mouthful, but still, learning how to learn is quite nice to be teaching young children, because then they know how to manage themselves when they get into a lot of different situations, because you never stop learning, even when you're older. So learning how to learn is just an essential part of life, I think. And I think more adults also need to realize that if a kid is gifted, they just don't automatically know how to learn. So you should teach them, you should learn them how to learn, yeah. And about the other article about getting young adult literature, it's a bit of a struggle word for me, literature. Getting young adult literature in the classrooms is actually great, because if you spend a lot of time explaining words and going over the dictionary and not actually thinking about the poems or the article or the book itself, then, because if you think about the meaning of the book, and if you think about how it's formulated, what the right amend with specific words or specific sentences that are sarcastic maybe, or have a bit of a joke in them, like a pun that you would only understand in English and not in Dutch. So that would be great if you would put more young adult literature in your classroom. And of course the classics you should keep, because they're classics. I mean, if you're interested, that's great, but you should also mix them a bit together, I think. So young adult literature is great to begin with, and later when you move on, when you just, you advance a bit in your English, you could also just move on to the classics. I haven't yet, because I am reading a lot of how do you say it? Locally written stuff by friends and by families, and so I have yet to read the classics, but I'm still looking forward to it, because classics are great. But young adult literature can really connect people on when they're teenagers or even when they're kids, because they understand, and when they understand, they sort of get the feeling, yes, this is what I can understand and relate with, so they tend to understand it a bit more. So I think adapting that into your classes in your own way, I think that's pretty neat. And for the last part about the teaching quiz, or so to say, I got 62% for higher education, and I got 66% on lower education, and I got middle scores. But I think, because they are great questions, they are very detailed, but I think it's sort of every situation is different, So I had certain aspects of certain situations where I was like, yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't agree unless this maybe happened, or what if something beforehand happened, and because you don't know in which situation each person is in. So I filled it in as if the main reason was there. So I was like, okay, just nothing else, no further context, I would choose this option. But yeah, because the questions were sometimes a bit broad, I would just be like, yeah, but there are many different ways to go on about things, to manage your classes and to talk to your students and other colleagues. So yeah, it's a bit different for everyone, I think. I hope this video will send or will upload anything, because as of right now speaking, I am in Egypt. So my data is very limited and I do not have very much time. So I hope this video finds you well, and I wish you a very nice day.